Good evening. Welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Anna. Today I am going to show you guys how I make sourdough bread. I'm not a professional baker by any means, but I have gotten some pretty good kudos from my husband. He is a professional chef. He has been cooking for over 20 years, and we did spend some time in Manhattan where he worked at some pretty cool spots. So he says my bread is the best he's ever had. I'm sure it has a lot to do with all the love I bake into it, but I am gonna take that compliment and I'm gonna show you guys what I do. So we are gonna make some bread today. I started my sourdough journey a few years ago. I have a starter that I made from scratch maybe a year or two ago. Her name is Fifi, and Fifi has leveled up twice in her existence. She has had a 12-year-old starter added in, and then a 15-year-old starter added in as well. So she's got some girth on her. I currently have her in the refrigerator. I did bake some bread last week and fed her and then put her in the fridge to sit until I was ready to bake again. So I'm gonna grab her out of the fridge and we are gonna get her fed. It's currently 10 o'clock at night, and then let her do her thing overnight. Usually this process for like the starter to reactivate takes 12 hours ish. If it's sat in the fridge longer, it can take longer, but she's only been in there for a little less than a week. So I'm gonna grab her and we're gonna get her fed so that we can go to bed and start mixing our dough in the morning. Okay, so for this part of the process, and don't mind my sink, I am getting caught up on dishes right now, but for this part, so I have our starter. She has a little bit of separation on top. This is perfectly normal. We're just gonna stir everything back in together so that she can be fully incorporated. I'm gonna grab a spoon. I have our cup that we're gonna use to feed her. I'm gonna zero out my scale. You wanna make sure that your scale is set to grams. I'm gonna set our little cup on this and zero it out again. So we are getting the right measurements for feeding our starter. Give her a little stir. She's very pungent, I guess you can say, but honestly, I found feeding your starter like fresh from the fridge, I find it easier to work with the starter. I don't know, it can just be a personal preference, but we're gonna start with 40 grams of starter in our container. We're like a gram shy, so I'm just gonna put a little bit more in. That should do it. Yes, okay. So I use my discard for recipes. You can find like pancake recipes and stuff online. And actually, I'm just gonna get as much of this off as I can. I'm gonna put my spoon in this and then zero it out. We know that there's 40 grams of starter in here, but I'm gonna leave the spoon in while we do our measurements, just so I don't have to worry about setting my spoon down on the counter. Okay, so we're zeroed out. I would recommend feeding with AP flour. That's at least how I make mine. So we are gonna go in with 150 grams of flour. It's usually almost one of these little scoops that I have. Okay, so we're a little bit over 150. So I'm just gonna scoop some flour out until we hit 150. I'm gonna zero this back out and we're gonna go in with 150 grams of room temperature water. I'll let my faucet go for a little bit, and then I just use the inside of my wrist to test the water's temperature, kind of like how you would a baby's bottle. You don't want it to be too hot because it can kill the starter. I guess if it's colder, it's probably fine. I just put mine in at room temperature. I find I get the best results. So I'm just gonna test the water. It feels good. We're good. Okay. So now we're gonna pour in 150 grams of water. This part you wanna go slow on because you can't scoop it out like you can with the flour. Woo. All right, we're 151. That's not the end of the world, and it actually could be this water right here. All right, so now we're just gonna stir everything together. And you want this to look like a thick paste. Just make sure you get all the flour and all of the starter just well incorporated. I'm gonna use this little lid right here, and we are just gonna pop the lid on, give her a little bit of breathing room, and we're gonna let her sit just like this overnight. All right, good morning. It's the next day. So we are going to start mixing up our first batch of bread. And this is the point where if you're not wanting to make another loaf after this, then I will tell you what to do. You're kind of like in a space where you can like choose your own adventure. So we are going to be feeding our starter again this morning and mixing up a loaf of bread. So this process here is going to be like basically we should be able to bake the bread tomorrow morning. So it's like a full day process once we get to this point. So we're gonna go ahead and feed our starter again. So same methods as yesterday. We're gonna place a cup on the thing, the scales, and then zero it out. And then this is the part that I love the most about the way that I do my bread. Because I think this just makes the measurements and everything so easy. You don't have to worry about a discard unless you want to. Like you could feed your sourdough this morning and basically like feed it again tomorrow or like later today or something like that. All right, so we're at 44 grams. I'm gonna get a little bit of this out, measure again. We're exactly at 40. So then I'm gonna take the rest of this and put it into my glass bowl. So I'm gonna keep this out for my spoon rest. So next we're gonna do the water portion of this. It does not matter whether you do the flour or water first on feeding it. I do have a method that I prefer to use for the bread. So I'll show you what I do. To me, it just feels easier. I don't know that it matters, but I like to incorporate the water first on the bread. So take that for what you want. Okay, we just zeroed out our scales again. We're gonna get our water going at the right temperature. Okay. So for the bread part, we're gonna put in 1.5 cups of water into our dough bowl. And then, like normal for the starter, we're gonna put 150 grams. 150. Okay. Let that dry. Okay, so we'll zero this back out, and then I'm gonna take a dough whisk, and we're gonna whisk the starter and the water together. That should be good. And then to feed the starter, we're gonna do 150 grams of AP flour, I do have my scale zeroed back out. And then we're just gonna go at it. 150 on the dot. Perfect. 3 cups of bread flour in this bowl. This is cup number 2 and cup number 3. All right, so since our starter is fed, we're gonna go ahead and get this out of the way. We're gonna take our spoon and then just mix our starter, and we are gonna do the same thing that we did last night. I think I'm gonna make another loaf. And then what I like about the way that I do my ratios with this, because there are like ratios that you need to have when you're making your bread. So it's just think about it in like 3s. So we have 1.5 cups of starter, 1.5 cups of water. That makes 3 cups. So you have 3 cups of wet ingredients, 3 cups of dry ingredients, and then we're gonna do 3 teaspoons of sea salt. I eyeball this. I've done this enough to where I think I kind of know how much 3 cups, like, or what 3 teaspoons looks like, but I don't know, we'll see. This is where the love comes in. Do what feels right, but 3 teaspoons is what we're aiming for. At this point, I've only mixed the water and the starter. I just dumped the flour in, so we're gonna put the salt on top and then incorporate everything. Okay. Before we mix, I'm gonna grab powder-free gloves. My husband gets these from his work. Let me. 2 gloves. Okay. Now comes the fun part. We are going to take our dough whisk and just literally mix. Okay. So we're just mixing all the wet and dry ingredients together. This dough whisk I got from IKEA. I had it shipped to the house because our closest one is in Charlotte, and I don't go that way very often, unfortunately. So next, we're just gonna hand knead. Just try to make sure everything is all mixed together well. And get that salt mixed in there really well too. And it is fun to get in, do this with your hands, but we're going to be taking stretch and folds with us to work today, so I'm taking gloves with me so I can do like an easy step into the back and do this. Okay. All right, so this is a wet, shaggy dough. This is what you want. Now the stretch and folds will help build the gluten strands, which you'll see how the consistency of this changes each time we do our stretch and folds. So as of right now, she is good to sit. So we're gonna let this sit for 30 to 45 minutes. Take your shower cap, put it over the top, and then I'm gonna set a timer for 45 minutes. All right, we're going in for round 1 of stretch and folds. So you will see how the consistency is already starting to change on these. I'm just gonna go through and like lift it off the sides. So for stretch and folds, you literally just take the dough, stretch it, and then fold it in on itself. Quarter turns. You can see how the texture is already changing of it. And this will just continue to get tighter and smoother the more you do your stretch and fold. So we're just building those gluten strands right now. Oops. Okay. I'm gonna cover this back up. It is 8:43. So we'll do this again probably around like 9:30, 9:45. Okay, so we are at the store now. I started to do the stretch and folds and remembered I needed to grab my camera. So the texture is already like way improving, but you can see that it is just like way like smoother. The strands are getting tighter. It's looking good. So this is it for now. We're gonna let this rest for another 30 to 45 minutes and we'll come back and we have 2 more sets to do. So we'll get this done and then let it do its bulk rise here at the store today. Yay! Okay, we're back for another set of stretch and folds. So you're really getting a dose of kind of just letting it be what it is because it's 11:30. I think I did the last set an hour ago. Maybe this is gonna make the bread taste good, or maybe something else will happen. We're gonna find out together. We're just literally gonna do the same thing though. So stretch and fold. It's very sticky. Woohoo. Okay. Stretch and fold. Stretch. She is getting puffier though. And fold. And last but not least, she's jiggly. Stretch and fold. Okay. And here she is for her next little rising service. And she's kind of bubbly too. She's nice and like fermented. This is good. Okay, we're on our last set of stretch and folds. I feel like you need to see how this is looking, but this is like, it's getting some like bounce to it. So now we're just gonna let her do her bulk rise throughout the work day today. And we made it home from work and look, it is now 7:04 and this is how our little bread that we made this morning is starting to look. So we're gonna go ahead and get this shaped and then we're gonna use this round proofing basket. You can use a loaf shaped one or a round shaped one. I have one of these and like, I don't know. I have like 4 of the loaf shaped ones, but I'm really wanting to make a buell. So we're gonna do that shape. So we're just gonna peel the shower cap off and lay it back like inside out because we will use this for proofing. And then I have a silicone, like, I guess pad that I'll use to shape my dough on since it's non-stick, but you can also lightly flour a surface and shape your dough that way. And the shaping process is similar, like no matter what size you're making or like what shape you're making. So I can kind of show you where you will start your loaf shape if that's the shape you're wanting to make, or if you're doing a buell like I am, we will basically do the same process and just finish it out a little bit differently. Also, I like to make cinnamon and sugar bread sometimes, and this is where you would do the inclusion. So we're gonna just shape it out into like a mostly flat rectangle, and then we are going to peel up the sides and like flop it over 1/3 of the way, and then do the same with the other side. And then we're gonna just start rolling the dough in on itself like this. So I make loaf shaped bread a lot. And like basically at this part here is where you would just like curl in the ends and then just like lift it and put it into your proofing basket. We're doing the buell, so we're just gonna basically like, I don't know, just like round the dough out and like pull it back in on itself. Just like shape it around. So not the greatest of this either. I'm trying not to let the seal break, but I think that it also creates a new seal in the bowl. So we're just gonna continue just like making this into a sphere and then put it into the basket with like the smooth side down. And then the top, there's gonna be like where those edges are, just kind of like, I don't know, work those pieces together. This is the part that I struggle with. But the dough's gonna, or the bread's gonna turn out delicious regardless. And that's all that matters in the end. All right, so we're gonna put our shower cap back on our proofing bowl. Get the excess air out. And then she's gonna sit in the fridge. Usually for proofing, I will do overnight. And if I'm really wanting to eat the bread, it needs to proof for a couple of hours at least. I would say like 2 hours. So you don't want to let it go for, I think, more than like 12 to 18 hours in the fridge before you bake it. So just kind of plan ahead whenever you're going to put it in the fridge. Just make sure you're like ready, like, you know, when it's time to do the proofing. But all right, so it's the next day. I'm gonna check and make sure our racks are okay. All right, so I have a Dutch oven that I use to bake my bread, and I have it on the lowest like oven shelf, and I have the shelf down as low as it can go. The other shelf I have lifted all the way up to the top, so make sure that they're in those positions. I have nothing in my Dutch oven right now either. She literally just bakes bread for me. Woo. But we are going to preheat the oven to 450 and let that warm up, and then we will start baking our bread. Okay, so we're back for some of the last steps of our sourdough journey. So for this, you're either gonna need some kind of a, I forget what these are called, but it cuts the, like it cuts into the sourdough. You're gonna wanna like score the top of your bread so that it can, like some of that air can escape and it can like fluff up correctly. I'm gonna use one of these little cups here and put some ice cubes in it for when we go to bake our bread. I do have a dough sling that I use. I'm just gonna take a little bit of parchment paper, just enough for like the base of the bread. Put it face down, and then this is where we are gonna put our bread. So the bread is cold proofed since yesterday evening. I'm gonna take off our little shower cap, and that can go in the trash now. I'm gonna flip the bread face down. I'm gonna move this over some so that you can watch. So just let it face down, and we're just gonna make sure it comes out. Okay, there she goes. Okay. So this is the side that we'll score. These silicone proofing baskets I like because you can wash them. I'm a dishwasher girly. Ours runs for like 2.5 hours. I think it sanitizes and does all the things, so these just get thrown in the dishwasher. And then for scoring, this is where you can kind of get creative with it and have fun. I've tried doing like multiple designs like in the past. I just cut it. I don't know. But I do like to do like a decent size, like little like cut on the side so that there's like an ear when the bread starts to cook. So I just like do like a little cut like that. And then I will sometimes do like little, they look like a tulip leaf or whatever, like whatever the little leaves are the tulip stands in. At least that's what I think they look like. You can like double it in, make it look almost like a heart. This bread is very airy. There's like lots of nooks and crannies in here. And then I'll normally just do like another small like ear on this side. Oof. All right, so use oven mitts because this thing is going to be hot, hot, hot. Take off the lid. And literally just picking up all four corners of this and just setting it right down inside. When I go to do my ice cubes, I like to have them under the parchment, not on the bread. So we're just gonna flap these back over, put the lid on. Use your oven mitts. It would be very painful to grab this without oven mitts. Okay, and then in she goes. All right, so we've got our lid on our Dutch oven. She's in the preheated oven. It's preheated at 450 degrees. And with this size of a loaf, I like to do my first timer for 35 minutes. So we're gonna bake that with the lid on for 35 minutes, and then I'll take the lid off usually and do like another 15 to 20 minutes. I just don't want the top of my bread to burn. Leaving the lid on it allows it to continue cooking, but without the top of it being exposed to, I guess, the exterior, allowing that possibility. So I just want my bread to not be burnt. But anyways, we're gonna let that go. I'm gonna get some stuff done around the house, and then we'll check back in on the bread and take the lid off together, and then let it keep baking. Our timer is going off, so we are gonna take the lid off of our Dutch oven. Lid is off. I'll show you really fast how she's looking. So there's our bread. It's gonna be so good. All right, we're gonna put her back in. All right, she's back in with the lid off. We're gonna bake her for another 15 minutes and then check on her and see how she's looking. Okay, yay. All right, timer set. We're almost ready. Okay, so while we're waiting, I am gonna go ahead, I'm gonna grab the cooling rack because we want this to be ready when she comes out. Yay, almost done. We're just gonna lift her out. There she is. Ooh, she's beautiful. Okay. And take off the parchment from the bottom. Okay, but here she is. And y'all, this is like super hot, so make sure if you handle your bread that you are wearing your oven mitts. But oh my gosh, she turned out so pretty. And then you can see like there's the big ear that we cut. So that just allows like it to bake better on the inside. Whew. And then there's the little baby ear. And then our little like tulip hearts. They kind of look like doe hooves. Or maybe even like, I don't know. They might look like tulips actually. The whole tulip though, not just like the bottom part. But anyways, I think our little scoring was fun and cute. like, I apologize if that was like blurry during all of that, but so now all you gotta do is let the bread cool. That's probably, I don't know. I struggle with this part because I'm ready to like get into it, but it probably needs to sit for like a good 30 minutes maybe. Okay, so it's been probably about 30 minutes now, and we are gonna cut into our sourdough beauty. Okay, so just gonna start on this side, I suppose. Oh my, okay. Yep, so the crust is perfection. I am gonna twirl her this way so that we can get better handle on the cutting. But there she is. All right, we are gonna do a small taste test. I'm actually just gonna rip it off, and the inside of the bread's pretty warm. Okay, guess I'll cut off a piece. Sliced beautifully. Okay. All right. There you go. I like to do avocado oil and some like salt and pepper and herb, like dried herbs, to dip my bread in. But you can kind of do it however you want. But I'm gonna go enjoy my bread now. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you decide to try out the recipe, let me know how it turned out. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. All right, bye. Mwah. Cheers.